Hello, everybody. Chris from Procrastination Station here, and I just wanted to give a short introduction into who I am and what I do. So, I am a procrastination coach. Yes, I know that sounds pretty funny. Do I help people procrastinate better, or do I help people, overcome procrastination? And the answer actually is I do a little bit of both, depending on the person. But really, I am all about reviving your potential just because I know that procrastination can, rob us of our potential dreams. But I do want to say before I go into anything else that, if you are suffering from procrastination, you aren't broken and you aren't lazy. Okay. I don't actually believe in lazy, but I'll go into that, if we have a chat later on. So there are 5 stations to procrastination. There's actually many more, but I've divided them into 5 stations just because one of these stations is where we're stopped usually. But just remember that, the station is not the final destination. You slide into it and then you get right out of it and you keep on going. So, what's your station? I mean, we have the perfectionist. You need to make sure that everything is perfect every time, the first time out. You're waiting for the right time, or you're waiting for the right person, or you're waiting for the right opportunity. Nothing is ever perfect. But that is a big reason why we tend to put things off sometimes, and that could be related to a fear of judgment or, a fear of failure, right? So we want it to be perfect. Next up, we have the warriors. You know, we can all make excuses all day long about things that maybe we don't want to do or we aren't interested in doing, or things that can go wrong. Many of us also resonate with that. You know, I usually the example of, oh, I have to go out and cut the grass. Well, okay, Saturday morning, it's bright and sunny. What if it rains when I'm out there? Well, really, there's not a cloud in the sky. Well, what if I go out and there's no, I don't have gas for the lawnmower? Oh, well, I always stock up. So, I'm always prepared. It's Saturday morning. What if my neighbor doesn't like the noise? So, you see, we can come up with any number of things that could hold us back on these things. And many of us resonate with that. Next, we have the dreamers. The dreamers are actually one of my favorites because I myself definitely resonate with the dreamers. I'm a dreamer myself. We have visions, we have these big plans. We love to plan things out. Maybe we love to fix things. But the thing is that we get caught up in the details of actually implementing that, right? So it's either, it comes down to like the how I'm going to do it or when I'm going to do it, or you get lost in the details simply because you've planned it out, but now you realize that to actually do that thing, well, a lot of the things you need to do to make that vision come to life are pretty boring and not interesting. And I mean, that's pretty normal too. Next up, we have the crisis makers. The crisis makers, these tend to say that we cover it up by saying we work well under pressure. But really what it is that nothing is kind of important until, it is important. So a lot of the times we make up these crises because, we feel like we're more productive, or we feel like we get that extra energy boost, or we love that feel of that rush of adrenaline or creativity that we get. And so, we can tend to leave things to the last minute. I mean, most of us have been crisis makers in our school years, at least, putting off homework to the last minutes because, oh, it's really wasn't that important to us at the time. But then all of a sudden it's Monday night and, Tuesday morning is when it's due, and you're sitting there and you do a whole night cramming, building, writing, whatever it might be, just to get it done. So many of us can relate to that as well. Then we have the defiers. A lot of us, as we're younger, we start out as defiers anyway. We don't like being told what to do, right? I mean, nobody really likes being told what to do. Okay. Can't say nobody, but many of us don't like being told what to do. And this is actually one of the easiest forms of procrastination to actually get over because it's simply a mindset shift. But it's simply the act of just remembering that, everything in life is a choice and we choose what we do every single day. Now let's get into this as well. The next question is, am I procrastinating? I mean, it's one thing to say that, I put things off sometimes, or I avoid some things sometimes, but, am I procrastinating is a question because not everybody does, you know? Um, Procrastinating is really when it becomes an integral part or becomes a big component of your life. So what are some of the signs of this though? There's avoidance behaviors. So you're chronically delaying tasks. It's not just one or two times. It's a lot of the time, or even most of the time you're delaying tasks. Difficulty starting tasks. And again, this isn't, if once or twice, you wake up on a Saturday morning and you say, oh, I really don't want to do the laundry today. And it only happens once. Not really procrastination. That's just a one-time thing. And distraction seeking. So, I mean, are you constantly looking for other escapes? Whether that be doom scrolling on Instagram, flipping through Facebook posts, even in substance abuse or video game addiction or all these other things. If you find yourself always looking for something else to distract yourself from the thing at hand, then you might be procrastinating. There's also emotional and cognitive factors. You have low motivation, you get anxiety, and you feel a lot of stress a lot of the times. And there's also guilt and regret. You regret not doing this thing that you put off, or you feel guilty because you didn't do this thing that you feel like you should be doing. So the consequences of procrastination really are, most of them are pretty obvious. You have time mismanagement, you have decreased productivity, and you just generally have a sense of not being fulfilled. But it also creeps over into your personal relationships as well and other aspects of your life that, may not be immediately noticeable. The next one we have, I like to say, not my circus, not my monkey. I tend to put all these three things under that same umbrella simply because it's fun to say, not my circus, not my monkey. But we talk about burnout. So it's a state of exhaustion. It's caused by prolonged stress. And it could be because, you're taking on things that you really shouldn't be taking on. Burnout and overwhelm kind of overlap a little bit in that way. Because when we're talking overwhelm, it's usually one of two things. It's faulty boundaries, which, is not necessarily your fault. It's, programming that you've got, or it's a lack of knowledge. And, so it's that you're either taking on something that isn't yours. Again, the whole, not my circus, not my monkey. So it's not mine to deal with, or it's just a lack of knowledge. You're not quite sure how, or you're not sure in what ways you can do the thing that is overwhelming you. If you've got good boundaries and you've got the knowledge that you need to do specific tasks, you're never going to feel overwhelmed, even if you've got 10,000, 100,000, 200,000 tasks to do. And I would definitely be interested in having a chat with anybody who wants to go over that as well. I'll go over that more at the end as well. You can always reach out and ask about that. The next one here we have is distractions. So distractions are all about, instant gratification or avoidance, right? So, and that ties into burnout and overwhelm as well, because when we get burned out and when we get overwhelmed, we tend to look for distractions because we want to feel better, and that there's nothing wrong with wanting to feel better. It's just the way that we do it. Getting to the bottom of it, right? So how do you get to the bottom of procrastination? Well, it requires a lot of self-awareness. So you need to become aware. You need to identify the patterns. And because there are patterns, there's always patterns. And that's one of the probably the most difficult stages of it, is that you actually have to be aware that you're doing this. And then you have to become aware of the patterns and then look into the whys behind it. And then you find the path forward. And then it takes patience and persistence. So patience, persistence, and being consistent. But the most important thing that many of us forget is compassion. You need to have compassion for yourself because, as I mentioned again, you're not broken. You're not lazy. You are simply operating on programming that suited you in the past. I mean, procrastination at its core is a form of a defense mechanism, or, telling yourself that there's something going on that you need to look at. That's all it is. Now, building accountability is so important for overcoming procrastination. We have to be accountable to ourselves, but I know that that's not immediately easy, and we don't always come into the world, being accountable to ourselves. So there's nothing wrong with seeking support, whether that be socially, friends, family, mentors, teachers, support groups, communities. There's so many people out there, and you know, many of them would be just willing to just hear you out and listen and help you to be accountable as well. Then you've got the professional side as well. If you feel like, you're building accountability and the social side isn't quite enough for you, you've always got professional help. You've got therapists, you've got coaches, you've got sponsors, you've got professional associations. Any one of these would be an excellent choice in order to, help you to build more accountability if that is an issue that you seem to be having. And accountability and procrastination often do go a little bit hand in hand. Now, what's the procrastination playbook? So the playbook is really simple, actually. All of this is simple. It's just the implementation that can sometimes take a little bit of practice. So you need to manage and understand your energy levels. It's not all about time management. Anyone can stuff a calendar. Anyone can use an app. Anyone can write out a list. It's really about, in conjunction with that, managing and understanding your energy levels and what your priorities are. The next thing is to diminish distractions. I mean, it seems, simple enough, but, that means putting your phone away, taking the Instagram and the Facebook icons off your home screen on your phone. In more drastic cases, even removing social media from your phone entirely while you're trying to study or to work. Set do not disturb notices, all sorts of things like that. Anything you can do to diminish distractions, the better. And the most important thing, actually, when it comes to battling procrastination is choose a system which works for you. I mean, I've seen so many systems, and I have assisted using so many systems, but it really comes down to what resonates with you and what works the best for you. So whatever you do, if you are working on it yourself, if you're working through it with a friend, if you're working through it with a coach, if you're working through it with a therapist, just be sure to analyze and just reflect at every step of the way. If what you're starting to do, if it resonates with you, if it's easy for you, if it's what's being effective for you. And if it's not, feel free to speak up, especially if you're with a therapist or coach, to say, hey, this isn't really working for me, which is okay, because not everything works for every single person. Sometimes we need to find that balance and we need to try different things. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with standing up and saying, hey, this isn't the right direction for me. So just always know you and be in tune with you. Right. So thank you for getting to the end of this video, which is a short introduction here. The website is www.procrastinationstation.ca. I do have a free quiz on there. It's only 5 questions. I'm sorry, it's only 8 questions. It'll take you about between 5 minutes and 8 minutes to do. And right after, if you feel like you want to discuss more about this, you can actually schedule a session with me, complimentary session with me, and we'll go through, your results and possibly where we could work together. And whether we work together or not, you will have, a deeper understanding of, where you are and where you want to go. Also, on the website, you can also chat with me, even if you don't feel like, talking about procrastination. I am always open to virtual coffees or virtual meetups, whatever you want to call them. And we can discuss anything related to, anything that's on your mind, really. So feel free to reach out. And don't forget to tune into Procrastinator's Pit Stop, which is, the channel that you're on right now. And I'll see you around soon.